Welcome to my show. It's me, Tritiyatri, bringing you the top news from all around the globe that is worth making the headlines. Middle East skies witness massive US military buildup. American fighter jets, drones, and strike aircraft are rapidly entering the Middle Eastern airspace. Well, the deployment is being seen as a show of strength ahead of the sensitive diplomatic talks. Experts believe that it signals Washington's dual approach of diplomacy backed by the deterrence. F-15 jets deployed to establish air dominance. That's right, the US has positioned F-15 fighter jets capable of controlling the aerial battle zones. Well, these jets are designed to neutralize enemy aircraft and conduct precision ground strikes. Their presence signals preparation for rapid combat responses if the tensions escalate. MQ-9 Reaper drones intensify the surveillance operation here. Advanced MQ-9 Reaper drones, they are monitoring the regional moments, and that too along with long endurance capability. These drones can track targets for hours before launching precision strike. Military analysts call them among the most feared remote warfare tools. A-10 Warthog aircraft strengthens the ground attack capability. Well, the A-10 Thunderbolt II, famous for destroying armored targets, has also entered deployment zones. Well, the aircraft specializes in close air support and heavy battlefield firepower. Its inclusion indicates readiness for ground conflict scenarios. United States Carrier Strike Group moves into strategic position here. American naval forces, including destroyers and submarines, they have entered key maritime zones. Carrier strike groups act as floating military headquarters capable of launching rapid air and missile operation. Well, their movement significantly raises regional alarm threats. Oman emerges as crucial venue for US-Iran nuclear talks. Diplomats from Washington and Tehran, they are preparing to hold high-stakes nuclear negotiations in Oman. Well, the talks aim to address uranium enrichment limits and sanction relief. Well, the global powers, they are closely monitoring these discussions for conflict prevention. Military buildup seen as negotiation pressure tactic. Some analysts believe that Washington's deployments, they are meant to strengthen diplomatic bargaining power. Now, demonstrating the military readiness can actually influence negotiation outcomes. Well, the strategy has historically been used to push the rivals towards compromise. Iran warns against growing US military presence. Tehran has labeled increasing American deployments as direct security threat. Iranian officials believe that regional military expansion could really trigger retaliation here. The warning reflects growing mistrust before diplomatic discussions begin. Iranian missile and drone network raises global concern here. Iran has deployed advanced missiles and drone systems capable of targeting regional bases here. These weapons, they form a core part of Tehran's asymmetric warfare strategy. Military experts believe that they provide Iran strong deterrence capability. Diego Garcia Base becomes new geopolitical flashpoint. The US-UK military base on Diego Garcia has re-entered global strategic debate here. The island plays a vital role in Indo-Pacific and Middle East military operations. Well, any sovereignty shift, it could affect American operational flexibility. Chagos Island's sovereignty dispute gains global attention now. Britain has considered transferring Chagos Island control to Mauritius. The move is seen as correcting colonial history but raises security concerns as well. Washington fears political change could affect military base access. Trump signals military protection for Diego Garcia. Donald Trump, US President, warned that America could use force to protect operations at Diego Garcia. His remark highlights the island's importance in global defense strategy. Well, the statement reflects strong US commitment to maintaining military influence. Trump suggests ending advance warning to allies before strike. Trump indicated that future US military operations may prioritize secrecy over coordination. He argued advance warnings previously allowed targets to escape. Well, critics warn that this particular approach could weaken alliance trust and coordination. Portable airports concept sparks global military debate here. Trump introduced the idea of temporary hidden air bases for surprise mission. These mobile airstrips they can allow stealth operations from remote regions. Here defense experts say that such system they could really change modern warfare tactics. Iran seizes oil tanker near strategic Farsi Island. Iranian Revolutionary Guard captured 2 vessels accused of diesel smuggling. 15 foreign crew members they were detained during the operation. This whole incident has kind of triggered global concern over maritime security in the Gulf. Strait of Hormuz remains world's most sensitive energy choke point. Nearly 20% of global oil passes through the narrow Strait of Hormuz. Here, any disruption, it can affect international fuel prices instantly. Maritime confrontations in this particular zone carry major economic consequences. Tanker seizure raises shipping and insurance concerns. Global shipping companies fear rising security threats in Gulf water. Well, insurance premiums for oil transport they may increase significantly. Energy markets closely monitor such incidents for supply chain disruption. US naval presence expands to protect shipping routes here. Washington has increased surveillance and patrol mission across the Gulf water. The US claims the deployment ensures international maritime security. Well, Tehran views these operations as pressure tactics before negotiations. Rare earth mineral rivalry intensifies the US-China competition. That's right, rare earth elements vital for technology and defense. They are becoming a major global battleground. China dominates production and processing supply chain. The US, on the other hand, is building alternative trade alliances to reduce the dependency. Rare earths power modern technology and military system. Well, these minerals, they are very important for electric vehicle, missiles, electronics and renewable energy. Control over supply determines technological and military leadership. Experts call them the oil of the future. Iran declares the US regional bases within missile reach. Iran's Revolutionary Guard claims that American bases across the Middle East they are targetable. The statement is seen as a direct deterrence warning, while such declarations significantly increase the geopolitical tension. Nuclear domino effect warning raises the global alarm. US Vice President Mr. J.D. Vance, he warned that Saudi Arabia may pursue nuclear weapons if Iran does. Analysts fear that this could trigger the regional nuclear competition and such proliferation, it could dramatically reshape global security dynamics. Saudi Arabia signals nuclear response if Iran deploys the bomb. Saudi leadership has previously indicated willingness to match Iran's nuclear capability. Well, the rivalry between Tehran and Riyadh, it could escalate into arms competition. Global power view this as a major strategic risk. US issues emergency exit warning to citizens in Iran. While Washington urges Americans to leave Iran immediately due to rising tensions, officials warned rescue operation may not be possible during conflict. Now, such advisories often indicate serious security concern. Tabas flight route sparks the historic symbolism debate. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi reportedly departed for talks from Tabas, linking to a failed US rescue mission in 1980s. Well, the location carries strong historical symbolism. Now, analysts view it as a possible psychological messaging here. Turkey, Qatar, Egypt, they all offer temporary peace proposal. 3 regional powers, they have proposed a conflict prevention framework between Iran and the US. The plan indicates nuclear freeze, missile limits, and non-aggressive pledges. It aims to pause escalation rather than creating a permanent peace. Israel maintains hardline position against Iran's military program. Israeli leadership continues demanding stronger restrictions on Iran. Well, some policymakers argue limited arguments may not ensure long-term security here. Israel's stance complicates diplomatic consensus. Global energy markets closely monitoring the Middle East stability here. Oil price volatility increases whenever the regional tension rise. Investors and governments track development around nuclear talks and tanker incident. Stability in the Gulf directly affects the global economic confidence. India rejects external pressure on energy policy decision. That's right. New Delhi has clarified that national interest drives its oil purchasing strategy. India continues balancing imports from Russia, the US, and other suppliers. Well, the approach reflects India's multi-alignment diplomatic model. Middle East stands at crossroad between diplomacy and the conflict. Military deployments and peace negotiations are unfolding simultaneously. Experts warn that one miscalculation could really trigger the confrontation. The success of diplomatic talks may decide the nation's immediate future. And with that, that's a wrap-up of our 30 news bulletins from around the globe. From the United States to Iran, from Qatar to Israel, the world is changing, and so is geopolitics. While the ground trembles, the sky watches, and the entire Europe feels the heat of a new power game. Just 50 kilometers from Russia's border, rockets are fired. Not in war, but in message. A message that echoes far beyond Lithuania's coastline. Now picture this for a second. Cold Baltic winds, military trucks rolling across tough terrain, soldiers locking coordinates into advanced targeting systems, and then, all of a sudden, a rocket tears through the sky. It was not random, not symbolic, precise, calculated, intentional. The US Army, well, they have just conducted powerful HIMARS rocket drills in Lithuania, right near the Russian frontier, right where NATO and Moscow, they constantly watch each other. And this was not just a solo performance. Lithuanian forces, they stood side by side with American troops, turning the exercise into a joint show of strength. But here's where the story gets even bigger. This was not just about rockets. Across Eastern Europe, heavy Abrams battle tanks are moving. Deadly fighting vehicles, they are being deployed. Surveillance aircraft, they are scanning skies near Russian-controlled zones. Well, it looks less like an exercise and more like a military chessboard where every piece is being repositioned right now. But wait, why HIMARS and why now? Because this particular system has already rewritten the battle rules. In Ukraine, HIMARS becomes a game changer. It moves quietly and it disappears before the enemy can react. Think of it as a sniper, but in rocket form. Now for NATO, HIMARS represents speed, precision. For Russia, it represents a warning, a reminder that NATO can strike fast and strike deep if tensions explode. And also the timing matters here. These drills come at a moment when old nuclear agreements between global powers are fading. Security trust is weakening and military alliances are becoming louder and more aggressive.
Russia and US negotiators have agreed on the need to quickly launch new talks on nuclear arms control, following discussions held this week in the United Arab Emirates. The talks come as the New START Treaty, the last remaining nuclear arms pact between the two countries, has expired, ending more than 50 years of limits on the world's two largest nuclear arsenals. With the treaty's termination, there are now no caps on US or Russian nuclear warheads or delivery systems. The agreement had limited each side to 1,550 deployed warheads and 700 missiles and bombers. Russia has said it is willing to continue observing those limits temporarily, but the United States has pushed instead for a new framework that includes China, whose nuclear arsenal is smaller but rapidly expanding. Beijing has rejected joining such talks. US officials say China's nuclear build-up and lack of transparency make a bilateral deal insufficient and has accused Beijing of covert nuclear testing. China denies the allegations and says it will not enter negotiations while its arsenal remains smaller than those of the US.
The clock is ticking, the temperature in the Middle East is rising, and the world is holding its breath. Well, could the US-Iran war explode within hours? Not maybe, But right now, the tensions feel closer than it is in years. Picture this: inside military command centers, radar screens are glowing. Warships are tracking moments in the dark water. Fighter jets are on standby. And thousands of kilometers away, diplomats, they are quietly walking into meeting rooms in Oman. Well, war preparation and peace talks happening at the very same time. And the latest spark? A powerful Iranian general has openly mocked America and indirectly challenged Donald Trump's military threat. The message from Tehran is loud and confident. If Iran is attacked, the entire region will burn. Now, this is not about one battlefield, not about one country. The warning hints at a chain reaction stretching across the Middle East. But here's the twist in the story. Even while harsh statements are flying, the US and Iran are still talking. Yes, negotiations have resumed, but they are walking into the talk with completely different expectation. Iran says one thing: talk only about nuclear issues. Tehran wants discussion limited strictly to uranium enrichment and sanction relief. And on the other hand, Washington says something very different. The US wants missile programs discussed. It wants Iran's regional military networks discussed. It wants security guarantee. Basically, in simple words, both sides are sitting at the same table but reading from different scripts. And that is what makes this moment extremely dangerous, because history shows when diplomacy and military pressure happen together, things can spiral fast. Iran is signaling strength. Its leaders claim that they are fully prepared for war. They say American bases across the region are within their reach. They highlight missile capabilities, drone fleet, and allied forces across the Middle East. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is psychological warfare as much as military messaging. The US is also signaling power, more naval deployment, more aerial surveillance, more rapid response readiness across the region. Washington wants Tehran to know that military action remain an option for them. And in the meantime, Middle Eastern nations, they are watching nervously, because if a conflict begins, it will not stay limited to Iran and America. It will affect the entire Middle East.
The power, politics and personal branding collide once again. Reports say that President Donald Trump floated a startling bargain behind closed doors. He's offering federal money for a critical New York tunnel in exchange for his name to be on the project. Our next report takes a look at the naming spree that's been undertaken by the American president.
It sounds like satire, but reports suggest it is serious. Donald Trump reportedly offered to unfreeze billions of US dollars in federal funding for a long-delayed New York City rail tunnel. Trump has one condition: name it after him. The tunnel project is no small matter, designed to modernize aging rail links under the Hudson River. It is vital for commuters, commerce, and national transport security. Delays already cost billions. Every pause pushes the final bill higher. But according to reports, Trump saw leverage and an opportunity to cement his legacy in concrete and steel. Trump also wants Washington's Dulles International Airport to be named after him. The airport in U.S. Capitol carries the name of John Foster Dulles, a towering figure in U.S. foreign policy. He served as a U.S. Secretary of State under President Dwight Eisenhower in the 1950s. Now, this would not be his first act of self-naming. Trump Tower dominates Manhattan's skyline. Then golf courses, resorts, vineyards, and even steak and bottled water have carried the Trump brand. Reports say the U.S. has repeatedly pushed to attach his name to public spaces, awards, and even policy initiatives. In December, Trump launched a new class of warships named after him. The U.S. president also renamed the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Again, the United States Institute of Peace Building in Washington has been renamed as Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace. Historians point out that U.S. presidents are usually honored after they leave office. Libraries, ships, highways, sometimes airports. Trump, by contrast, has shown impatience for this delayed praise. He prefers recognition in real time in capital letters. We report, we on World is One.
A fresh controversy has erupted where Andhra Pradesh's Chief Minister N. Chandrababu Naidu has alleged that during the previous YS Jagan Mohan Reddy-led government, the Tirupati laddus were prepared using ghee that was adulterated with bathroom cleaning chemicals. Now, Chandrababu Naidu has alleged that the YSR Congress government had undermined the sanctity and prestige of Lord Venkateshwara Swami by allowing adulterated prasad at the temple. He denied claims that the YSR Congress government has received a clean chit in the case and has declared that the guilty will not be spared. Now, Chandrababu Naidu has also claimed that such adulterated ghee was supplied not only for Tirupati laddus, but also for the famous Sri Sailam temple during the YSRC rule. Referring to reports by the investigative agencies and laboratories, the Chief Minister alleged that ghee was prepared using palm oil, chemicals and other adulterants, and called it an unforgivable sin. The Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister further announced that a one-man committee has been constituted to examine the CBI-led Special Investigative Team report that has been submitted to the state government. The committee will also identify the lapses and will fix responsibility in what Naidu has called a grave offence against the devotees' faith. Chandrababu Naidu has said that over the past 5 years, the devotees were given adulterated laddus, causing fear and distress amongst them. He warned that intimidation and counter-narratives will not succeed and those found guilty will face some strict action.
Mexico's state of Jalisco has issued a health alert after a measles outbreak hit its capital city, Guadalajara, one of the main host cities for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Because of rising cases, face masks are now required in some schools, and people are lining up to get the MMR vaccine, which protects against measles, mumps, rubella, and chickenpox. This comes after a warning from the Pan American Health Organization, which says measles is spreading across the Americas. So far this year, Mexico has confirmed nearly 2,000 cases with over 5,000 suspected infections. Jalisco is the worst affected state with more than 1,100 confirmed cases. The outbreak started last year in northern Mexico after a child caught the virus during a visit to Texas. Since then, it has spread quickly, especially in communities where vaccination rates are low. Experts say fewer people getting vaccinated is the main reason measles is coming back. Professor Mauricio Rodriguez warns that the risk is higher now because people from all over the world will visit Mexico for the World Cup. To control the spread, masks are mandatory in some Guadalajara schools for 30 days, the first such rule since COVID. Health officials urge people to get vaccinated and stay careful as Mexico works to stop the outbreak before global visitors arrive.
Now let's talk about India's oldest airline. It was once a symbol of national pride, but of late, Air India has been in the news for its challenges. And this week, it is facing a new set of questions. A report was tabled in Parliament. Its revelations are shocking. It says 7 out of 10 Air India planes have recurring technical defects. From tray tables to cockpit components, the issues are varied, but the frequency has raised eyebrows. It has brought safety back into focus. And this comes at a time when the industry already is under pressure. From crashes to near misses to mass cancellations, Indian aviation has been going through too much turbulence. This latest report only adds to the growing public concern about India's aviation sector. Here's a report.
There is trouble in India's skies. And at one of the country's biggest airlines, Air India is facing serious questions about the safety of its fleet. A new parliamentary report has exposed a shocking reality. 7 out of every 10 Air India aircraft have recurring technical defects. That is right, 70% of the fleet. The numbers were presented in Parliament. They cover inspections carried out since January last year. And they paint a worrying picture. 191 of 267 aircraft operated by Air India Group were flagged for repeat issues. That includes both Air India and Air India Express. The inspections were conducted by the DGCA, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation. It is India's aviation regulator. These were part of regular audits and surprise checks. Across all airlines, over 700 planes were reviewed, and more than 350 had recurring defects. But Air India Group had the highest proportion, nearly 72% of its fleet. Other airlines were also affected. Indigo had 148 defective aircraft out of 405 inspected. SpiceJet had 16 out of 43. Akasa Air reported 14 out of 32. Air India says it flagged these defects voluntarily, out of an abundance of caution. According to one report, most issues are low priority, and they don't include systems which are critical to safety. Air India insists these do not affect flight operations. The airline says it is already working on a retrofit program and targeting narrow-body aircraft over the next 2 years. The report comes at a critical time. India's aviation sector is under heavy scrutiny. The pressure follows a string of high-profile aviation incidents. First, the crash of an Air India plane last year. Then, the chaos at Indigo, which led to the cancellation of the thousands of flights within days. Earlier this week, there was another incident on an Air India plane. A Dreamliner pilot flagged a suspected fuel control switch defect on a London to Bengaluru flight. Despite that, the aircraft continued to operate. The UK's Civil Aviation Authority has now stepped in. It has asked for detailed records and explanations. So what does all of this mean? Air India says its planes are safe, that the flagged issues are minor. But for flyers, the confidence in Indian aviation is being tested. Not just by crashes or cancellations, but by the creeping sense that internal oversight is struggling to keep pace. The regulator is scaling up. The airlines are defending their record. But 7 out of 10 planes with recurring defects is a number that demands attention.
We got jobs numbers out this morning showing Canada's economy losing 25,000 jobs, and yet unemployment didn't go up, it went down. Let's try to understand what's going on there with our economics reporter, Peter Armstrong. How are you?
Good morning, David.
These are, in many ways, not surprising numbers, and yet explain to us how it is that we lose jobs, but the unemployment rate goes down.
So the mechanics there are interesting in that one bright light that, sure, the unemployment rate went down. Isn't that great news? Well, it only went down because fewer people are looking for work.
Right.
So if you've got fewer people in the labor force, you've got a smaller unemployment rate. So it speaks to just the deep and profound uncertainty that has been prevalent in the Canadian jobs market going back to the inauguration of Donald Trump a little bit more than a year ago. The interesting thing here is that we had seen a bit of an uptick, right? We had added like 200,000 jobs going back to the end of August. And everybody was saying, well, at some point, it's got to give back. At some point, we've got to sort of reverse to the mean here. And we've seen that. Though, I mean, it's only 25,000 jobs. It's obviously not great news if you're one of them.
Yep.
But like when we're looking at the broad scope of the economy, we lost a bunch of part-time jobs, but added full-time jobs. So there's like all these little mixes in there. And it speaks to just how mixed the story of the Canadian economy is right now and how it's done a very good job of adjusting to the trade war and the tariffs and all the uncertainty, much better than I think a lot of people had expected it to. But it's still this weight on the economy. You look at the manufacturing sector, lost another 28,000 jobs. It's really hard out there. And it's really hard for workers. It's hard for employers trying to figure out how to navigate this. Like so much of your market, regardless of almost what industry you're in, takes place in the United States. And whether you're currently getting hit by tariffs or not, you're worried about them. And you're worried about the policy changing on the drop of a dime in the United States. And so you can understand where that uncertainty comes from and what this kind of does to employers, employees, policymakers right across the country.
Got to talk to you about something that's happened in Ontario, and that is about this deal that had been made between two companies to build electric vehicle batteries here. there's been movement there.
Okay, this is actually a little complicated. Stellantis and LG had worked together to build this factory, and they were going to make car batteries there. They did. Stellantis is having a bit of a rough day, but certainly a rough couple years now. They've decided to get mostly out of the EV products business, and in doing so, they've written down, the results just came out, they've written down like $26 billion.
Whoa, that's
in
huge.
These kinds of, it's massive. Yeah. These kinds of investments. They're going to pay out something like $17 billion over 4 years to get out of these EV products as they adjust to say they're going to make stuff more aligned with what consumers want. Now, the interesting thing here is in that plant in Windsor, a South Korean company has come in and bought up the other half. They built it with Stellantis. So they've come in to sort of gobble up the rest of it. They're making home batteries now. But it speaks to all of these deals that have been going on. Mark Carney signed an MOU with South Korea just, 10 days ago to buy subs and get some kind of investment in manufacturing here in Ontario. So is this part of that?
Or at least consider buying subs anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love my mom, and I will stand for my family. I'm not afraid. Whatever they're gonna punish us with, I do not care. I say, bring it on.
Well, we're a school full of immigrants. Everywhere is full of immigrants. Immigrants make America great.
We're speaking up for the people who can't. So, it's our right. Nobody can tell us nothing. So,
If anything, it's against our First Amendment. That's all we gotta say.
You got people's families being ripped apart from them. It's horrible to see. It's devastating to see. And I hate for our country to go to this level.
New this morning, a self-described Antifa member is now facing serious charges of threatening federal agents. The Justice Department charged 37-year-old Kyle Wagner from Minneapolis with federal stalking and threats he made against ICE officials. Authorities say Wagner posted on social media rioters should put their hands on ICE agents to hunt them and punish them, quote, at the barrel of a gun. Authorities say he also wrote agitators need to be armed and ready, stating, quote, this is kill or be killed.
He is a self-proclaimed Antifa member who has been threatening, doxing, harassing ICE. He called for the murder of federal law enforcement officers. He encouraged bloodshed in the streets of Minnesota. He proudly acclaimed affiliation with the domestic terrorist organization Antifa. They are targeting, doxing, harassing, and vilifying ICE agents. They are going to be held accountable, like this individual here, who again is a self-proclaimed member of Antifa. He is a domestic terrorist.
The criminal complaint also states Wagner used his Instagram account to expose an ICE supporter by publishing their personal information and then threatened them and their family.
Not far from where we're standing,
my house was the first house on the street.
Marcella Baucom has watched the city of Hutchins grow.
This city hall is brand new. I've seen all of this come up.
But still, living in southern Dallas County more than 20 years.
Stuff that doesn't need to come south, comes south.
She says like the possibility of an ICE detention center.
Just throw it south, they'll take it. Like that, it's something. No, we want more than just something. We want grocery stores. We want parks.
This is the proposed building, currently owned by P.S. Hutchins Phase 2 LLC. The nearly 1 million square foot property could hold up to 9,500 people, which is more than the city's current population.
I know they can't sustain from the infrastructure side of it.
Dallas County Commissioner John Wiley Price says you have to think about sewage and water.
You got a safety issue there. You can't just put people in a warehouse.
Plus the economic impact from property taxes.
You're talking about $1.7 million tax hit.
Through multiple government sources, WFAA has not confirmed any deed or documents suggesting ICE has purchased this land. Hutchins mayor says they've received no documentation or communication from the federal government either. The city also says they would not support an ICE facility, while Governor Greg Abbott's office says he fully supports every tool and strategy of the administration's deportation efforts.
You're being zealous about local governments.
And from the residents to the federal government.
Not on my watch. Not on my watch. I'll be here.
Nightmares, worms in food, and psychological torment. That is how a single Venezuelan mother is describing life inside a family detention facility in Dilley, Texas, the same center where 5-year-old Liam Ramos and his father were held. MS Now national reporter Rosa Flores sat down with the young mother, who has since been released but is ordered to wear an ankle monitor and regularly check in with ICE.
Veo que está llorando. I mean, you're crying now. ¿Qué es lo más difícil para usted? What's the most difficult part?
Tener miedo ahora de estar en la calle, tener miedo de que me vuelvan a meter a este lugar.
She says that her biggest fear is that she's afraid everywhere. She's afraid to be outside. She's afraid to be taken back into the Dilley facility, and that she doesn't want to go back into detention. Su hijo, ¿cómo está? How is your son?
Todavía se despierta en las noches llorando.
She says that he wakes up at night crying.
No ha querido comer mucho todavía.
He still doesn't eat.
And Rosa joins us now live from outside the Family Detention Center in Dilley, Texas. Rosa, what more are you learning about this family and the facility?
Mika, thank you so much for shining light on this story. This woman is so afraid that she doesn't want to use her real name. She wants us to call her Maria for fear of retaliation. She was arrested last November with her toddler son during a routine ICE check-in. And she was in detention for about 2 months. And she told us about the conditions inside the facility. You described some of it. Worms in broccoli. She said that there's waiting for everything, long lines, because there's more than 1,000 people inside the facility. But she said that the worst part is the psychological torment. The lights are on 24/7. She says that she couldn't sleep at night, just thinking. And as a mother with a toddler, she said that the only thing she could offer her son were motherly hugs every single day. Now, we asked DHS for comment. We asked them a lot of questions. They didn't answer our specific questions, but they did send us a statement, and I want to read you a portion of it. They said, quote, all detainees are provided with 3 meals a day, clean water, clothing, bedding, showers, soap, and toiletries. Inmates also have access to phones to communicate with family members and lawyers. And Mika, this woman says that all of a sudden, 2 months into her detention, the federal government offered her $5,000 to self-deport. When she said no, she was bused to Laredo, Texas. An ankle monitor was strapped on her leg, and she was released into a faith facility. And Mika, I have to leave you with this, because if people are thinking, oh, is the Trump administration just all of a sudden becoming more humane? There's a hidden risk that has this woman and so many others terrified. They have to return, Mika, to the same ICE facility where they were detained with their children. And so in essence, the Trump administration has created this vulnerable pool of people that they can rearrest.
MS Now national reporter Rosa Flores, live from Dilley, Texas. Thank you for your coverage. Thank you very much. Meanwhile, quarantines have been put in place at the Dilley Detention Center after multiple cases of measles was detected there over the weekend. This comes as another detention facility in Arizona has also had to enact similar protocols after 3 measles cases were confirmed among its detainees there. Dr. Gupta, first of all, what are all the risks when you have these people being treated the way they are in large numbers, including measles?
Well, Mika, it's a perfect setup, unfortunately, for something like measles. We've talked, Rosa and her tee up here, poor conditions, worm in food. That tells you sanitation is not good. HVAC, you need something, you need a place that has good HVAC for ventilation, since measles spreads by air. That's obviously not going to be happening there. And then just density. This is a perfect setup for spread. They're only saying 2 confirmed cases. I'm sure that's grossly underestimated.
Dr. Gupta, is there any sense that medical professionals have been on site at some of these centers? And are able to give us some more insight into what you're seeing?
And Mara, you know, it looks like there's been some alarm, some letters written from health officials in Texas, but frankly, too little, potentially too late. And the concern here is this going to get a lot worse before it gets better. I'm not sure how it gets better because these facilities in and of themselves are spreaders of this infection.
In the existing prison camps they've got, Trump is already holding more than 73,000 people right now, which is a record. They want to build 16 new processing facilities and 7 new huge warehouse facility camps. If they build those, if they can build those 23 new facilities that they've said they want to build in these communities that I've been describing all over the country, if they can build those 23 new facilities, that'll give them the space to more than double the number of people they're holding in the camps. The biggest one they've got right now holds about 3,000 people. That's the one at Fort Bliss, where 3 people have died in the past 8 weeks. Again, about 3,000 people are there now. There's already people regularly dying there. 3,000 people there now. They want their new prison camps to be closer to 10,000 people. How do you think those facilities are going to be run? If they build them, they will fill them up. And yes, maybe they will use them for immigration detention now, whatever that is, they're prison camps. But if history tells us anything, it tells us that once facilities like this are built in these kinds of numbers, once you get an archipelago of facilities like this built in numbers like this, yeah, they may start as immigration detention, but they're available to them indefinitely for whatever they want to do with those camps. And so you see something that has been mostly flying under the radar of the national media, but may absolutely be key to our destiny as a nation. Everywhere they are trying to build these things, including in the reddest states in the country, everywhere people are pulling out all the stops to prevent these camps from being built. And I have to tell you, if the country stops them from building them, they will never again have this kind of momentum to try to build a constellation of prison camps this large outside the reach of the law. I mean, why would we give this government that kind of power, that kind of tool to use indefinitely?